One of the mysteries of Dublin is that, of course, we have two cathedrals. We have Christchurch Cathedral and we have St. Patrick's Cathedral. The Christchurch was based inside the city walls and this was based outside. The style of architecture which was employed was early English Gothic, which was an early form of Gothic architecture. You still had the pointed arches, but the walls and the windows were more plain in style, we'll say. So this would have been very familiar in fashion to the European cathedrals, but would have been revolutionary for Ireland. You know, a building on this scale had never been constructed before in Ireland before this existed. This was the biggest enclosed space in Ireland for around 500 years. Jonathan Swift, I suppose, is the most famous dean of the cathedral. Most people don't realize that he actually was a clergyman. He was a priest by trade. Swift was a man of many, many different talents. He's internationally known as a writer, but he ended up making his way into the church, and eventually he was appointed by Queen Anne to be dean of this cathedral. He very much became a man of the people over time and did a huge amount in terms of social justice for the people who lived in this area. He, for example, set up an early form of a credit union for the people in the Liberties. He had a microfinance scheme where he would help local businesses with a version of seed capital of what we describe today. So he was a very practically minded and understood how he could help the people of the city in practical ways. Swift is probably one of the very, very few people that I'm aware of who actually wrote their own epitaph. And probably gives you a small insight into his psyche around the time of the end of his life, that he wanted to be clear in his messaging to the future generations. So that's the famous line, I suppose, from his epitaph, where he talks about this savage indignation can no longer lacerate his heart. And he really is kind of lashing out at critics, but also asking that people emulate him, that they attempt to copy him and have this savage indignation toward their own society. Is probably about 1,000 years old, and that's verified from the point of view that we have a written reference to a church on the site called St. Patrick's in Insula, which means on an island.